Bonjour mes amis, et bienvenue au Pendu dans un Cercle de Lune. Hello friends, if this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, if you are a returning visitor, you're probably thinking two things. One, he's back in his regular space. Yes, friends, I'm back in my office in Cheonan, South Korea, and we're back on schedule. Well, the schedule is going to be a little bit different from now on. So just a heads up, you might want to, if you haven't subscribed, subscribe and hit that alarm bell so you get notifications of when I upload videos. My schedule for the coming semester is going to be different, and so my upload times might also be different. In fact, I'm almost sure that my upload times are going to be different, so you might want to get notifications. That being said, the other thing you're probably thinking of is that because I tried introducing this video with French, that this is my series in which I use Tarot de Marseille, Tarot de Marseille adjacent, and antique Italian decks to explore topics related to living the intentional life that I pull from my larger weekly spread. So every week I do a large spread, and this lunar cycle I've been doing a 15-card spread. That uses both a Thoth-based deck and a Smith-Waite-based deck, and an Oracle deck. And it's a big spread, and it's got a lot of information, and so I want to get a concise message. So I use my, again, either Tarot de Marseille adjacent, or antique Italian decks to help me get that concise message. And I've also been adding an oracle to the end of this spread, which is, to some people, anathema, but that's the way I roll. So, just in case you have not seen this week's larger spread, I highly recommend you go watch that video first, so you get an idea of the basis from which these three cards, well, four cards, are speaking to us. So you know where the question and this answer is coming from. So in case you have not seen that larger video, the longer video, let me put a card up here for you to hop on over, take a look at that, and come back. If you have seen that video, and it's been a while, because you know, you can watch that longer video in pieces. It's very acceptable. And in case you did that, and just want a quick reminder of what it was about, let me tell you, it was about change. This week's spread really seemed to be focused on change and two possible courses of action that we can choose from that moment of both the change of the death card, where something is left behind and we transition, and the change of the Fool card of leaping into the unknown. Yeah? We had that as our beginning, and two possible courses to take from there. One in which we flow with natural events and get perhaps a new idea, a new perspective, a new way of looking at things, or one in which we get our passions all fired up and run up against not a brick wall, but a water wall of emotion, which is in conflict. So the fire of our passion gets drowned out by the emotional content of our hearts. And we also had some a challenge of love, and we had some divine intervention of fresh passion, which was all really interesting. And so, the question that I ask every week is, what is the central message of this week's spread, of this week's 15-card spread? And the answer is a little challenging. It's not the quick, easy, facile answer that I was hoping it would be, to tell you the truth. So, what am I going to do? I'm going to show you the cards that came up from the Tarot de Marseille and the Oracle deck, and I will also give you the question written out all nice and pretty in letters, and then we will go into the reading of the cards. Okay? So friends, let me show you all of that. This is a really interesting spread. And you saw from left to right, we had the Four of Swords, the Magician, and the Queen of Swords. Now, did you also notice that the Queen of Swords on the right was facing to the left, as was the Magician in the center, facing to the left? So this is an indication to me that this spread wants to be read from right to left. I read with the line of gaze. So we're going to start off with the Queen of Swords. And here she is. This is from the wonderful reproduction of the Noblet deck by Flornoy. And I love this small deck. It's getting easier to shuffle. It was very stiff at first, but now it's much easier to shuffle, even in its diminutive size. And you see this beautiful queen looking to her side. Very wonderfully cleaned up drawing, right? So, who is the Queen of Swords? Well, the Queen of Swords is a person of complexity. Now, not complexity in the sense of confusion, but complexity in the sense of diverse patterns of thought, ability to handle many different ways of thinking, many different perspectives, many different fields of study all at once. This is the Queen of Perspective, someone who can see clearly and see broadly, and can see not only from their own perspective, but perhaps even from the perspective of others. She's a clear-minded queen. Now remember, I said she, but all of these queens, kings, knights, and pages of the Tarot de Marseille are in each one of us, whether we're in a male body, a female body, a cis body, a trans body, an intersex body, whatever. We have all of these qualities. We have he's, we have she's, we have they's within all of us. So this she aspect of ourselves is clear-minded, is powerful, has a powerful intellect of useful and effective ideas. The Queen of Swords for me is the witty one too. Is the one who has clever ideas, can tell jokes that many people might not get. And the Queen can stubbornly defend her ideas. Now there's a streak of stubbornness in this Queen. She says what she wants to say, and damn the consequences. She's not going to prettify the things that she wants to say. I mean, she's not necessarily actively harsh or actively destructive with her speech, but she's not going to call a foolish idea brilliant. Right? You understand that. Now, on the other hand, she won't dismiss an idea as foolish if there is no reason for it, or because she just feels like it. She's not cruel in her use of language and her use of mind. She's clear. And sometimes that clarity can run over some people's feelings. And yet she's open to new ideas. Remember, perspectives. She's open to new ideas, which is wonderful. She's actually probably my favorite queen of the bunch. So this is where we begin. We begin with this complexity of mind, possibility to think and perceive multiple different perspectives, ideas, courses of action. We have a mind that is also, it's not only intellectual, it's also useful, right? The ideas that the Queen thinks are not purely theoretical, they're also applicable. What a brilliant way to begin a reading. And the Queen is looking at who? The Queen is looking at the Magus. Let me get a quick look at the Magus so I get reminded of everything on this beautiful card. You see the wand in the hand of the Magus is a little bit phallic. Do you see that? We also see all the tools of the magician on the magician's table. I called him the Magus. This is not the Magus. This is the batelier, right? Le batelier, the street performer, the magician, holding a very phallic looking wand there. Now we have dice on the table, we have cups, We've got all the tools for this batelier. And some people read this batelier as someone who is a con artist or a street magician, but in a very pejorative sense, of someone who does things to trick you, to sleight of hand in order to make you think one thing is happening when actually something else is happening. And I don't see the magician that way, especially when this magician is well dignified. And this magician, I believe, is well dignified. So we have someone who has finesse of hand and mind, has dexterity. Yeah, there's potential to this magician. The magician can manifest choices, can choose, can express, and is at the beginning of a journey. The magician is also a student. The magician studies many things, and after learning can work with those things physically in the physical universe, has dexterity. The magician has everything that he, she, or they need to put things into action and is on a quest for wisdom. So that's what the Queen is focusing on. The Queen is focusing on her potential, her new beginning, and her ability to put those wonderfully intricate and complex thoughts into practice, to create with those and to create from those. And that she has everything that she needs to do that. And she's on a quest for more wisdom as well, which is wonderful. And I think is the beginning of one of the paths that was indicated in the larger spread for this week. Remember, I said that there were two paths. One where things naturally unfold as they will, and another one in which we would grab hold of the reins and move in a different direction, one that is more challenging. I think this is a description of the course of action where we flow with the natural unfolding of events, the natural unfolding of the change that has begun. And I say that for two reasons. One, these three cards are all elementally dignified. They all flow very easily together, especially if we think of the magician as a representative of the element of air, which oftentimes the magician is. We have three cards, all of the air suit. And the largest spread for this week was moving from the Fool into the Ace of Swords, into the air. If we let things unfold as they will. And so I think that is the main idea of this spread, of the larger spread and of this spread, is the Queen of Swords moving in the direction of her natural tendencies, is moving in the direction of the Magus now, which is wonderful. And what is the Magus? What is on the mind of the Magus that the Queen of Swords wants to become? That is the Four of Swords, right? The Four of Swords. Oops, upside down. The Four of Swords. Lovely card. This beautiful, robust flower is blossoming in the center of four swords. A garden which is delineated by these four swords. And what is the Four of Swords? That's stability of thought, right? Fours are for stability and structure. Air, thought, also perception. So, taking caution, conservation, not in the sense of conservative versus liberal politically, but conservation in the sense of keeping things as they are in their own manner and in their own course of movement. Because conservatism does not imply lack of motion, necessarily. Now, if we think of environmental conservatism, that doesn't mean that every tree must be frozen in time as it is. No, it is conserving the system which is growing and moving and evolving, right? Yeah, it's that sense of conservatism that this Four of Swords is pointing towards. It also points towards analysis. systematic thinking and rational thought. All things that the Queen and apparently the Magus are very much in favor of. This is a situation in which we are solidly positioned with thought and a maturity of thought. Now, it's not a solidly positioned brand new idea. There's a maturity to this Four of Swords. There's practical mind, acting usefully upon reality as well. Something that the Queen of Swords and the Magus together are particularly adept at. There's organization and stability to our intellects here in the Four of Swords. So like I said, this is all a process of mind. The Queen becoming the Magus with a very conservative, a conservationist point of view of systems and rational thought and analysis, and putting that analysis into action, organized and stable, with clarity, grounded thought, not flights of thought like perhaps a Gemini, but grounded thought, like perhaps a Libra, perhaps. Now, friends, we had that one oracle card, right? That one oracle card has now flown off of my lap into outer space, and let me go retrieve that. I'll be right back. We're back with the oracle card. Let me show it to you again. You saw it already, right? See this guy, somewhat middle-aged looking man, right? Standing there with two women on his shoulders, looking a little bit like the angel and the devil in a sense. One woman looks older and quite perturbed, to say the least. The other looks youthful and angelic, right? So the first time I saw this card, I thought, oh, it's that angel devil kind of thing, right? Where one of you is, one part of the mind is tempting you to do something bad, is evil, and one part of the mind is pure and sweet and good. And in a sense, there is that quality to this card, but perhaps not the way you think. The angry one is the angel, and the sweet, young-looking one is the devil. Because this card is piety. Yeah, piety. This is a pious man. Let me read the description from the guidebook. A pious man stands with hands clasped in prayer. Over his shoulders lurk visions of his longtime wife and his youthful housemaid. He solemnly pleads for heaven's guidance to help him stay on the righteous path and not succumb to temptation. And we assume that the temptation is the young maid and the righteous path is with his wife. Right? So, what does that mean? We might be tempted to do one of two things. The hard thing is to keep going the direction we're going in for some reason. The thing that we're tempted to do is something that is pretty, but is not correct, right? And so this card indicates devotion, loyalty, respect, keeping a sacred vow or promise, and choosing to do what's right. It's that keeping the sacred vow and choosing to do what's right that I think is the most important for this card in this spread. Because remember, there were two choices in the larger spread. And actually the easier choice, the thing that looked like the easier choice, the one in which we keep our hands out of it and just follow the course of events as they will unfold, is, I believe, the course of the wife. And the one where we grab hold of the reins and move ourselves in a different direction is, I think, the course of the young maid. But that one leads to conflict. And so, we are advised to not change course, I believe. Instead of this card actually modifying or adding new information to these three cards, I think this card in particular is reminding us which of the courses of action that are potential in this situation of change. Which course is best for us? And the course that is best for us is keeping things as they are. Now, do I necessarily believe that keeping things as they are is a choice that is as unattractive as this card seems to portray it? I don't think so. I don't think so. The creator of this card had a fairly unappreciative view of the wife, it looks like, right? In order to cause the man to have temptation to move in another direction. But I think the wife could equally be a pleasant-looking, happy, robust woman as well. And still there could be a temptation to move in another direction for the newness, the difference. And even though we begin with change, we may want to may want to take charge of and control that change rather than flow with it with piety, with loyalty, with respect to the course that has been laid out by the eternal natures that we are, which is an extension of the divine in our lives, rather than ego taking hold and going in the direction of something sparkly, shiny thing off on the side. So this card, I think, is here to remind us to stay the course. And staying the course, I believe, is the course of these three cards. Yeah, the Queen, the Queen moving towards the Bateleur, moving towards the Four of Swords, which is conservationist, and yet the conservation of a course of change. Can you wrap your head around that? Does that make sense? So that's, I think, the core message of this week's Tarot and Oracle, larger Tarot and Oracle spread. To keep on the course that we've been shown by the divine. As we leave behind the old and we move towards the new being the divine spouse, the divine partner. And there was an element of union, of romantic union, indicated in this week's larger spread. And so the union that we want to move into is the union of devotion, of loyalty, and not getting distracted by other things. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, let me know in the comments below. If it does make sense, really let me know. Well, both. I want to hear both. If it makes sense, I really would love to hear you say, yes, it makes sense. I understand completely. If it does not make sense, I would really love you to tell me it doesn't make sense. And maybe we could talk about what could be clarified. And if you are still here, hit that thumbs up button, my friend. It helps the channel. And subscribe again if you haven't subscribed, and hit the alarm bell so you get notifications of when I upload videos. And if you want a private reading from me, I'm here for you. Let me know. My email address is in the description box below. thehangedmaninthemoon@gmail.com. Shoot me an email. We'll get you a reading. Okay, friends? Thank you very much for coming with me on this journey of loyalty and devotion. And now, as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.